Some stories to start your day off with that. Big old smile. Neighbors are sending the love to the Marietta Police Department in a tasty way. The residents of Alexandria Village at East Park pitched in, bought 50 boxed lunches from Firehouse Subs for the department's officers, ambassadors, and detectives. Now, in a Facebook post, Marietta Police thanked the neighbors for their kind gesture and for definitely lifting their spirits. R&B star Usher spreading joy to the class of 2020. This all through his organization, Usher's New Look. Members of the team dropped off graduation gifts to high school senior Javon George. Look at that big smile, too. And if you've been around the internet, you may have seen this image of a Georgia baby in the air. Some are calling it #DadToss. It's from one dad's first Father's Day. Naquan Brooks tells us he never imagined becoming a meme on the internet. The Augusta resident was simply enjoying the festivities with baby Brooks. When I first saw the picture, I said, oh, the Thanksgiving Day parade starts early with a baby balloon.
It's like the perfect starfish.
He's just, yep, right up in the air.
Zoom in on his little shoe. It's like a black Air Force that's like 3 inches long. We'll be right back, guys. That was the cutest.
From concerns over the state budget to other bills that could pass, we'll have a breakdown this morning of the last day of the legislative session.
Looking beyond the COVID-19 numbers, 11 Alive is digging deep into why so many cases and how many people are really getting tested.
Finally, if you're headed to the beach or lake this weekend, a word of caution, what the CDC wants you to be on the lookout for. We have those stories and more today, Friday, June 26th.
Live from Atlanta, Morning Rush starts now.
Back to school. Yep. Is it that time already to start thinking about the classroom, or maybe will school be at home again this year, this upcoming semester? Well, many options parents and students are seeing. Here are just a few: an all classroom in-person type session, or maybe some in class with some online, or full virtual learning. We have all the details on some of the Metro Atlanta's biggest school districts reopening plans. But first, we want to hear from you. We want to know what you feel like. See that poll right there at the bottom of the screen? You can vote at 11alive.com/vote whether you think school this upcoming semester should be at home or at school. Most of you saying at home.
Chelsea, what was your favorite subject in school? I'm curious.
Math.
Math.
Mm-hmm.
Crash.
Next.
Mine, lunch. Good morning, folks. I'm Francesca Amaker. Sheba Russell is off today. It is going to be a fantastic Friday for you. Thanks for joining us. Crash Clark is here monitoring the roadways. But first, let's start with meteorologist extraordinaire Chesley McNeil. And will we need our umbrellas, Chesley?
I think so. I think you carry it with you, Fran, just in case you get hit by one of those isolated showers that pop up. Now, look at this. This is Blue Ridge. Our camera up there showing almost zero visibility right now. That is fog. Not sand, but fog that we have to deal with. That's up in the Blue Ridge Mountains. So we do have some isolated fog around. You're down to 1 mile visibility, for example, down LaGrange. Here up in Blairsville, which is close to where that camera is, you're down to 3 miles visibility. And so it's reduced in some spots. So be careful as you're traveling around. It's very isolated, not very widespread, but very isolated. Temperatures are in the 60s for the most part. Got some 70s out there as well. Duluth at 70, 71 degrees in Athens, 72 over toward Edenton at the current tower. So it's a mild start for us. We'll heat up 82 by noon with a mix of sun and clouds. That's the way it's going to be for much of the day, with a 30% chance for an isolated shower. Once we head toward the latter afternoon, 86 will be our high. Crash Clark, over to you.
All right, my friend, got some activity and it's scattered all around the state, actually. This is our overturned vehicle. Looks like they're getting ready to open up our right lane. This is on 75 southbound, just past Highway 92. See a little bit of red, a little bit of orange. Hang in there. I think you're going to get your lanes back. Folks, if you're traveling up north, and I'm talking past Dalton, very serious wreck has shut down 75 northbound past Highway 41. That's Chattanooga Road. All lanes blocked. Use 41 north of Dalton to Stone Church as your alternate ramp there. And watch out, 75 north at Forest Parkway in Clayton County got some trouble as well. Francesca?
We begin with our state lawmakers meeting at the Gold Dome later this morning. It's the last day of this year's on again, off again, on again legislative session. Nick Sturdivant is live at the state capitol with a preview of what we can expect. Nick.
Good morning, Francesca. A big item on the agenda today is the state budget. Lawmakers will vote on next year's budget today. And this is a big deal because the budget would go into effect, or will go into effect rather, on July 1st. State agencies were asked to cut 14% from their budgets after the economy tanked amid the COVID-19 pandemic, but it was revised to 10%. Now, schools are a sore spot in all of this. House leaders say the cuts will sidestep state employee furloughs. However, school systems will have to make their own decisions about how they will use the reduced state money. Many of them have already built up emergency funds over the last 10 years. And this Wednesday, teachers stood outside of the Capitol to urge lawmakers to keep the school budget somewhat intact.
Funding for our students, for public education. That's why we're here, to make sure that our students get all of the resources, including the educators that they need.
And Francesca, a couple of things to watch for. One is the election bill that would ban the Secretary of State's office from mailing absentee ballot request forms to voters. Also, there's some hope about the gambling bill.
Many people want to know about that. Thank you so much, Nick. Georgians could soon get beer, wine, or liquor delivered to their doorstep. It would be allowed under a new bill heading to Governor Brian Kemp's desk. Buyers would have to set up an account with the store, pay in advance of the delivery, and present an ID to be scanned or otherwise verified at the door. One representative says this process would have more control than in-person alcohol sales. And new this morning, another police-involved shooting, this time in Gainesville. Police say a man opened fire on an officer at the Hometown Studios on Jesse Jewell Parkway overnight. The officer returned fire but did not strike the suspect, who was later caught. The officer was not injured. Now to some other top stories we're following on this Friday morning.
I'm Hope Ford. A carjacking leads to an officer shot twice and a suspect dead. After 7:30 p.m., officers responded to a carjacking off of Delk Road and Powers Ferry Road. The suspect opened fire immediately with a rifle, leading them on a chase to a condominium complex called Chattahoochee Chase. The suspect fired at the officers with a rifle, hitting one officer in the head twice. We're told the officer is doing well because the bullet did not pierce his skull. The suspect was shot and killed.
I'm Elwin Lopez. Pregnant women may be at a higher risk for severe COVID-19 complications. The news comes after the CDC released new information about who is at higher risk for the virus. Common conditions like type 2 diabetes and obesity also made that list. Both of those are common conditions in the United States.
Teacher arrested. New witness video shows the moment Joel Schroeder crashed into other cars on a busy highway. It happened last week on Barrett Parkway in Kennesaw. Police say he may have slammed into the other cars on purpose, then started screaming at the victims. Schroeder is listed as a Kennesaw Mountain High School orchestra teacher on the school's website. He's charged with aggravated assault and DUI.
This morning, we are learning more about back-to-school plans for the fall. I know the kids are excited about this one. Several Metro Atlanta school districts are releasing their plans. Now, Chesley McNeil joins us now with more on the plans and your social reactions.
Absolutely. Now, the decision whether or not to go back to the classroom this year is going to be left up to the parents. All right, and we want to know from you, how would you prefer your children to learn this fall? That's our poll right there at the bottom of the screen. You can use 11live.com/vote to vote and let us know how you feel. Right now, it seems that more parents are saying at home than saying at school. Now, districts like Cobb, Forsyth, Henry, and Gwinnett counties will give parents a choice. Cobb County, for example, your parents have a chance to vote on it starting on July 2nd and have no later than the 10th to decide. They will encourage students who attend in-person learning to wear a mask. Meanwhile, Henry County is looking at two options. One is to return to in-person learning on August 3rd with a remote learning option. The district says if the state orders schools to close, students will move to online learning. All the districts that we talked to so far said they are closely following the health guidelines to ensure the safety of students as they return. Now, we are the station where Atlanta speaks, and here's a few of what you're saying. Betty writes, until we see the virus come all the way down, I will not be sending my kids or my grandkids to any school. Sandy says as long as the numbers continue to rise, no children should return. And Nicole says, I'm a teacher and a parent. I will be in class if possible, and so will my children. So a lot of mixed reaction right there. We want to know how you feel about it as well. Remember to vote right there on our ongoing poll right there. Again, most saying kids to stay at home. That's about 66% right now. How would you prefer your kids to learn? Crash, with the numbers where they are right now, I know it's hard to make a decision this early on. I got to think about the parents who have to work. And so making that decision of, I have to go into work, should my kids stay with me, or whatever the case may be, or having to come up with childcare has a role to play in that as well. So I think we'll be doing this really all summer long as the guidelines change. So we'll see.
Yeah, it's a really tough decision. I can understand the parents' point of view. I mean, having to go back to work, because we are seeing some of the, some places of work that are reopening now. But I mean, 34% on our poll right here saying to go back to school. I'm surprised at that number. I thought it would be in the single digits because the numbers are spiking. We're talking about some of these schools like Henry County going back in the beginning of August. We're getting ready to jump into July. These numbers are not going to go anywhere anytime soon. I know it's rough, but I think we're going to still see a whole lot of homeschooling going on. Yeah. All right. Well, you can join the conversation. We always welcome that with all of us on Facebook and, of course, our Insiders page. All you got to do is search Morning Rush Insiders. Send us a request. Promise you, we're going to approve it.
Crash, thank you. All right, a giant plume of dust from the Sahara Desert is now in Georgia, and we've been tracking the cloud for days now as it traveled across the Atlantic, making its way here. And we posted more about this phenomenon on our website. For more information, just text the word dust to 404-885-7600. So Chesley, what does the dust mean for our forecast?
Well, it's going to mean that could be some bad air quality for us. I think those of us that are sensitive to particles in the air may experience it. For the most part, we won't. Really, our sunrises and sunsets will be spectacular. There's some beautiful colors around, so grab some of those pictures and send them to us, and we'll put them on the air right here if you can. All right, our what to wear forecast calls for the shorts and short sleeves today. 86 degrees for the afternoon high temperature. We'll have a mix of sun and clouds. There is a 30% chance for an isolated shower. I'm thinking after about 1 or 2 o'clock. That rain chance goes down, especially as we head into the weekend, but we will be warming up with temperatures in the upper 80s for both Saturday and Sunday. And so, of course, we'll be watching that dust this weekend. Crash Clark, over to you. Yeah,
I'll certainly be keeping an eye on that as well, just like I've been keeping an eye on this overturned vehicle. SkyTracker right on top of the scene here. Look at that SUV still up on that guardrail there. They've had a hard time getting this thing out of that, off that guardrail, really, and they're still blocking up your right lane. This is 75 southbound, just past Highway 92. Volume light enough where it hasn't been that big of a factor, but we'll certainly let you know as soon as you get your right lane back. To the maps we go quickly. We'll show you one other problem down. Well, the downtown ride, really not a problem at all. In fact, the connector north and southbound looking pretty darn smooth. Look at that. Not even a little bit of yellow coming around that Grady curve. That's normally what we see even this time of day. That's what I wanted to show you. 75 northbound, earlier wreck near Forest Parkway. Not much of a factor for folks in Clayton County. Francesca.
Now to some news that may come as a shocker to many people. The true number of Americans infected with COVID-19 may be 10 times higher than reported. You heard that right. The CDC's director says they came up with the estimate after looking at blood samples from across the U.S. for the presence of antibodies to the virus. And according to Dr. Redfield, for every confirmed case of COVID-19, 10 more people had antibodies. There are now 2.3 million cases currently reported. The new estimate increases that number to at least 23 million. As coronavirus cases surge among young people as they head to beaches, the CDC is trying to figure out how to get them to take safety precautions against the virus seriously. The CDC director is considering using TikTok. Yeah, he says while young people face a lower risk of severe disease and death due to COVID-19, a high rate of infection among young people increases the chance that they go on to infect older at-risk people. Coming up, looking beyond the COVID-19 numbers, 11 Alive is digging deep into why the spike in cases and how many people are really getting tested.
And I bring good news for drivers. No pain at the pump this summer. We'll let you know just how cheap those gas prices will be.
This year's hurricane season was busier even before it began. Monday on Morning Rush, our Y Guy explains why experts are predicting a busier than usual hurricane season.
Russell.
6:44 is the current time. Clouds are starting to break down. We'll get a little bit of sunshine, just a little bit, not as much on that picture, but a little bit of sunshine in early on. Looking at a mix of sun and clouds for today, and a slight chance for some showers coming up later on this afternoon.
The CDC says it believes about 20 million Americans have been infected with COVID-19. While that number may sound like a lot, it's only about 6% of the population, far from the number needed for what's been called herd immunity. Investigator Rebecca Lindstrom has more.
Today, the CDC said to stop looking for the second wave because we haven't come out of the first one yet. That makes sense when you look at the recent rise in new daily COVID cases. On Thursday, the Department of Public Health reported 1,714 new cases. Now, every time we highlight a spike in numbers, we're told it's a result of increased testing. So we wanted to know how much testing was really happening beyond that big number we see on the DPH website each day. First, a look at how the number of positive COVID cases have changed in the counties with the highest count. Heading into June, Fulton had the most number of cases, 4,547. But in the past 23 days, Gwinnett has taken the lead with the biggest increase in cases. Those positive cases can come from several sources: hospitals, pharmacies, and doctors' offices. But one of the most common are the public health department testing sites, which started to open in mid-April. That's where we were able to get data and where the theory of test more, get more, as a simplistic explanation how COVID is impacting our communities, seems to break down. In the past month, Fulton has taken the lead, running more than 20,000 tests. Now, that's more than double anyone else, yet it has resulted in far fewer new COVID-19 cases than Gwinnett, for example. Even DeKalb has run more tests than Gwinnett and come up with half the number of positive cases. It's important to note anyone can show up at one of these testing sites. So someone tested in Fulton may actually live in Clayton, but the numbers give us a good guide as to what's happening.
Rebecca, thank you. And this morning, Governor Kemp will visit the testing site in Lilburn, where we pointed out earlier this week, almost half of Gwinnett County's positive test results are coming from. Gwinnett County says to them the data is encouraging proof that they've set up their testing sites exactly where they need to be. To read more on this full story, head on over to our website.
Vince, he's going to take a three and hit it.
If it ended today, this day, this end of the